Let's talk about the viral CEO HR lady cheating scandal thing that's all over the internet right now. So, there is a video going around of a man, a CEO, who is married, and he is at a Coldplay concert, hugged up with a woman who is the head of HR in his company, and they're in a really yummy embrace. And as the camera goes to them and they realize the guy ducks down on the floor, the woman is hiding her face. There's another woman next to them who's embarrassed, laughing. And this, of course, goes super viral, right? It ends up hitting the internet, and people on the internet are going to do what people on the internet do. They're making huge entertainment out of it, and we find out that they're cheating. They're in a cheating scandal. Both of them are married, and of course there are repercussions for this because everybody on the internet is seeing this. Now, the part of this that I have not heard being talked about is, why does this happen so often? We've seen so many scandals like this over the years, but what is it that makes this kind of thing happen? And that's what I want to talk about today. I'm Janair Hines. I'm going to explain why this is relevant and why I'm talking about this closer to the end of the video. So, first of all, let's talk about our brains at work, right? When we're at work, about 77% of people have reported that they do experience some kind of stress at work. Now, whether you're in a high stress profession or not, high stress professions are things we think about, like lawyers, people working in the medical field, people working in finance, where we know those professions involve a lot of stress. I'm an attorney, I experience it, so I know what that's like. But even outside of that, everybody has times at work where there's a lot of pressure, where the environment might become toxic. There might be issues with coworkers, with bosses, things like deadlines, things like promotions coming up. All of that can combine to put us in states of stress. And when our brains and our bodies are in a state of stress, what happens, right? Our cognitive ability is reduced. We are less able to make good decisions. We tend to seek emotional comfort oftentimes. And that is a soup that can combine and leading to indiscretion in the workplace. So the thing about it is, when we see things like this, oftentimes these people aren't going into these situations fully realizing what's happening and very intentional about it. Most times people don't walk into work and think, oh yeah, I'm going to have an affair. It doesn't just happen like that. I think the statistic is 60% of people have had some kind of workplace romance. And in about 36% of those, they become physical. Why does that happen though, right? It's a lot of times it's because when we're in stress, we're going through this stressful thing, or we're in this stressful environment, we're spending a lot of time at work. So when you combine long hours with stress and we're experiencing this thing with this other person, then often we can start to bond. A lot of times we hear people talking about they have a work wife or a work husband, which typically when we hear that term, it's meant to be platonic. But what happens over time is that the more you spend time with these people, and sometimes you're spending more time with them than you're spending with your partner or your spouse at home. You're at work 8 hours, 10 hours, sometimes more than that. And then you're going home, you're spending a couple hours with your spouse. Where is your bonding happening? It's happening with this person at work. And then you're experiencing this thing together, you're seeking comfort, you're emotionally relying on this other person and therefore bonding with them, then yes, sometimes those relationships can develop into a lot more. And it can happen over time, and it can happen slowly. A lot of times we're in the same job for years. These kind of things develop. That may not have been the situation with this particular case, but right now we're talking more generally, right? So we need to be very aware of this from day one. Why? Because when you are at the point when you realize you're stressed, you're already too far. Because when you are realizing that you are stressed, you're already at the point where your cognitive ability is already declining, right? You're already not making great decisions at that point. So we need to be more proactive and manage our stress before we even get to the point where it's so bad that you are reaching out for help. This is why part of the reason why I've created this course. Like I said, I'm an attorney and I've lived this stress. I've been practicing for 13 years and I've had my own law firm for 10 years. So I've lived the stress. I have other businesses. This is a passion project for me, but I have other businesses that I've done throughout the span of that time because that's just the type of person I am. And yeah, like I've seen so many of my colleagues and my friends that have been through things that have ended up in situations like this because they didn't recognize from the beginning that they needed tools to be managing so that their brain is still the one making the decisions instead of their emotional body or their stress body that's making the decisions. So I have a course that I've created. It's called the Thrive Blueprint, and it's tailored for high stress professionals. But of course, like I said, anybody can use this, anybody can take these tools. It's rooted in psychology. We use metaphysics, we use meditation techniques. All the tools are provided for you there where you can really say, okay, I'm going to go through this. I'm going to develop a purpose for my life and for my work. And when you come through the course at the end, you should really feel very solid in that you know how to cope when these situations arise. So that's why I'm talking about this, because I really do feel like this is something that people really need. It's so important and it's something that we are missing. And the consequences are huge when we don't, right? When we look at this situation from what we've seen on Facebook, internet people doing internet people things, we see the guy's wife took his last name off her Facebook. He might be heading for divorce. The woman in the video might be headed for divorce. She's getting fired. He might be getting fired. Now their faces are all over the internet. They could lose their families. They could lose their livelihood. They could lose their ability to get jobs in the future. They could lose their reputations, all because of not managing their minds and their emotions in this situation before it got to this point. And like I said, I don't know these people. I don't know their story, right? I'm talking generally based on the experiences that I've had with going through these kind of things with friends and colleagues in my own profession as an attorney, and my friends that are lawyers and doctors and in other high stress professions. So I hope that this is useful. I hope that you found this at the very least entertaining, if nothing else. If you want to connect with me, the links are down below. And I also have that course right now in pre-sale that you can check out if you feel like it's something that will benefit you or benefit somebody that you know. So thank you for watching.